Jean Baudrillard was a French theorist who emerged after the revolutionary May '68 protest in Paris. As the era of postmodernism was on the horizon, Baudrillard saw the transformation of all social relationships happening due to the growth of what would become digital media and its speed. Soon he abandoned his previous Marxist notions of exchange value and created his own political economy based entirely on the economy of signification, how meaning is normalized and dominated in our society. Baudrillard saw that signs were endlessly interacting and reproducing more signs, which is exactly what the experience of watching television is, a convergence of signs into a simulation, a world comprised entirely of signs interacting together. Those signs move even faster into our reality due to the rapid process of mediated communication. This creates many perceptions of our reality based entirely on signs. This is hyperreality. With that understanding in mind, we can analyze both films, The Truman Show and The Matrix, as media depictions of hyperreality. I will go ahead and say that I do not believe that hyperreality can be fully exemplified through any form of media, and that hyperreality is in fact perpetuated by any attempt to do so. The Truman Show does show us aesthetics of cinema, in particular sound, and how they are utilized to create emotions for us and to evoke a reaction from us. To put this in perspective, in quote-unquote real-world events, we see these forms of aesthetics utilized on a daily basis to legitimize media reality every day, whether this be talk show hosts, political pundits, preachers, or actors. The Truman Show is sadly another desperate attempt to make us aware of these tricks that fall already on what Baudrillard would call seduced ears. The Truman Show exemplifies the hyperreal in a way that converges both the real world into the simulation. The fans of The Truman Show are living in Truman's hyperreal existence just as much as he is. It isn't until he uncovers his simulation and he actively starts working to break out of it. The audience does not realize this until Truman sees it, and they see no reason for them to escape themselves, and they see no escape for or any reason for Truman to escape it. If they're aware, then why were they watching him for so long? Why is there an entire economy based on his character? Does he personify the escape they wish to make? Is the spectacle and ecstasy of hyperreality above human empathy? The audience is held in just as much captivity as Truman is himself. Christof, the series creator, even states, quote, "We accept the reality of the world with which we are presented," end quote. The signs we interact with influence our perception of all concepts, phenomena, and quote-unquote truths that they signify. So in this sense, Truman Show and the spectators watching are all existing in a hyperreality. This narrative sounds like something from a science fiction movie, something completely impossible, but it's not impossible. It's happening every day, in every moment. We are not living in a simulation, but we are immersed in a hyper-real world where there is no turning back. The only thing we can do is find hidden meanings, interpretations, and hold on to our rationality or any fragment of reality that's left. Both the image and the sound seduce us, and even if we believe we are outside of these tricks, we are not. They are actively shaping our opinions, our memories, and the world around us. The Truman Show brilliantly points this out with the use of live musical scores throughout the movie. Every moment we feel some sort of emotional attachment, we experience some form of melancholy, joy, or any sort of what feels like a genuine emotion while watching media, we're being tricked, and Peter Weir, the creator of the film, wants us to see this trick. This trick is unveiled in the scene where the man cast as Truman's father reappears on the set to quell Truman's suspicions of possibly seeing him in the city the other day after he snuck onto the set when his character was killed off 22 years before. The whole scene is literally constructed live by an orchestra of directors. This is very visible to us as the viewers, but does this make the moment any less genuine? Or does the sound do its job to deceive us and seduce us into feeling emotions that logically shouldn't exist? The musical score is so beautiful and alluring. Can we rely on our ears with this in mind? How can these aesthetics help to create forms of objectivity and signification in order to stamp the seal of approval in our brains? In contrast, the movie The Matrix is even based on Baudrillard's concept of simulation and hyperreality, but it does nothing to unveil the hyperreality. The movie is fast-paced and action-packed. It is trying to get us to choose between the red and blue pill the entire time, one that is the escape from the simulation and one that puts us back into reality. But the actual hyper-reality is completely omitted from this choice because it wouldn't exist within these two choices. It suggests that there is a clear line and escape between the real world and hyper-reality. And that notion is a complete misreading of Baudrillard. Hyperreality is not a simulated program that human beings are unknowingly stuck in. Instead, it's a manifestation of the real world based entirely around the effects of simulation on the subject and the subject's reality. The more signs become identical to reality, the more we believe in those signs. Hyperreality is manifested in our individual memory banks, our shared histories, our institutions, and our traditions. The Matrix cannot possibly deliver this analysis with its storyline. As Baudrillard said regarding The Matrix, quote, "The Matrix is surely the kind of film about The Matrix that The Matrix would have been able to produce," end quote. The high-energy techno soundtrack, superpowers, and slow-motion editing that show bullets whizzing past Neo were cool and fun to watch, but that's precisely the simulacrum that reveals itself. Its impossibility is what captivates us. Whereas the Truman Show's softer approach to conflict is more of a hyperreal presentation that rings true to our own world and our own cluelessness. Either way, both films are trying to wake us up, and they exist to get us thinking, and to make money, of course, but I digress. The notion that something is wrong and that we are clearly being manipulated by larger forces at play is the bond and solidarity that both of these films share. However, that notion only paves way for reactionary ideas and conspiracy. What Baudrillard wants us to understand is that there is no Christoph, a director. There is no architect, the creator of The Matrix. The Truman Show and The Matrix, these are all found in the nature of media. The only way we can understand this maddening concept is to challenge the very nature of information itself.